We're talking today about multiplication and division involving fractions, and it could be fraction with a fraction, it could be fractions with whole numbers, it could be fractions with mixed numbers, or a mixed number with mixed number. There's all sorts of ways that you can do multiplication involving fractions. So we're going to first refresh your memory on how to multiply just two fractions together. So this is just a breakdown of what the process looks like, where you have your two fractions split up into a component where they've got their numerator, which is the value that is on top of the fraction, and then you have a denominator, which is the value that's on the bottom of your fraction, and all you're going to do is multiply straight across, where you're taking your two numerators, multiplying them together to get a new value for your numerator, and then you're multiplying your denominators together to get a value for your denominator. And if need be, you would then simplify at the end. Well, in this case, 3 over 8 would not have to be simplified. 3 over 8 is as simplified as it would possibly get. But that's all you are doing when it comes to multiplying two fractions together. You multiply the tops, the numerators, you multiply the bottoms, the denominators, and then simplify if necessary. So we'll do two of them together, and then you're going to do these ones on your own. And as always, you will want to check your answer with your calculator. Always check your answer with the calculator just to make sure that you're on the right process. So for here, all I'm going to be doing is taking 9 and multiplying it by 2. And that's going to be my value for my numerator. And then on the bottom, for my denominator, I'm going to take 10 and multiply it by 3. So when I do 9 times 2, 9 times 2 gives me 18. 10 times 3, and I'll zoom in a little bit more so you guys can see it in the back. 10 times 3 is going to give me 30. And now I want to know if I can simplify them. So if I have an 18 over a 30, remember to simplify, you're looking for a value that they're both divisible by. What are they both divisible by? Automatically looking at 18 and 30, what do we automatically know right now? Simplest thing to divide them both by, 2, right? They're both even values. You can continuously divide them by 2, but there's also another factor that goes into 18, and it also goes into 30, and it's a larger factor. Anybody know? What can you divide 18 by that you could also divide 30 by? 6. You could do 3. Yeah, you could do 3. Here's a very easy way to know if it's divisible by 3. If you add the numbers in the value together, so 1 plus 8, what's 1 plus 8, guys? 9. Is 9 divisible by 3? Yeah. And what's 3 plus 0? 3. Is 3 divisible by 3? Yes. So if you add the digits in your number together and it creates a number that is divisible by 3, then the whole thing's divisible by 3. If it's an even number, meaning it ends in a 0, a 2, a 4, a 6, an 8, then it means it's divisible by 2. And if it's divisible by 2 and it's divisible by 3, then that means it's divisible by 6. Those are divisibility rules that you guys should have learned back in 5th grade, okay? So we know both of these, the highest value that they're both divisible by is 6. 18 divided by 6 would give us a 3. 30 divided by 6 is going to give us a 5. So we would have 3 over 5. And like always, we would want to check it inside of our calculator just to make sure that we've done everything correctly. So I would type into my calculator here, and it's hard to see, the light's so bad. I would type in 9 over 10. Oops, sorry, 9 over 10. And then I'm going to multiply it, so I hit my multiplication button, and then 2 over 3. 9 over 10, 2 over 3, hit enter, and look what we get. We get 3 over 5. So we did do it correctly. Let's take a look at problem number 2. Problem number 2, again, you're going to focus on multiplying out those numerators. The numerators are going to be 12 times 18. And then we're going to focus on the denominators. The denominators are 8 and 16. Okay, so when we do 12 times 18, 12 times 18 is going to give us 216. When we do 8 times 16, that's going to give us 128. Okay, then we're trying to figure out what we can simplify them both by. Well, I know that they're both even, and I could keep simplifying them by 2 over and over and over again if I wanted to. For this problem, something this large, I wouldn't ever have you dealing with it. So I would have you guys go ahead and just type it into your calculator. 216 over the 128, and then you'll simplify it to 27 over 16. I am fine with you guys keeping it in improper form, but you do need to know how to convert that into a mixed number. Okay, 16 would go into 27 one whole time with 11 remaining out of the 16. So both of these would be considered proper answers. What I want you guys to do right now is numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6 on your own. Check your answer with your calculator as well. Okay, let's go over these real quickly. Like I said, you should have been able to check them very quickly with your calculator. For problem number 3, you should have done 33 times 14 for the numerator, and then 7 times 21 for the denominator. When you multiply, 33 times 14 is going to come out to 462. 7 times 21 comes out to 147. And then when we simplify them, they come out to 22 over 7, which is also the same thing as 3 and 1/7. 22 over 7, or 3 and 1/7. Okay, problem number 4. You should have done 6 times 9, which is going to come out to 54. Then you would have done 18 times 42, and that's going to come out to 756. And then when you simplify it, it comes out to 1 over 14. So you should have gotten 1 over 14 in problem number 4. Okay, problem number 5. 22 times 45 goes on the top. 15 times 4 is going to go on the bottom. 22 times 45 gives us 990. 5 times 4 comes out to 60. And then when you simplify it, it comes out to 33 over 2, which is the same thing as 16 and 1/2. Okay, and then the last one, 3 times 35. 3 times 35 is going to come out to 105. Then you've got the 28 times 6, and then 28 times 6 is 168. And then once it simplifies to 5 over 8. 5 over 8. Okay, so multiplication's very, very simple, guys. You just multiply the tops, multiply the bottoms, simplify if necessary. And when we are multiplying fractions, they have to be in fraction form. They cannot be in mixed number form or whole number form. All whole numbers are technically written as fractions. Every single whole number can be changed into a fraction by putting a 1 as the denominator or the bottom part of the fraction. So every single fraction or a whole number can be changed into a fraction by just putting a value of 1 underneath that number. Okay, let me go ahead and flip onto the back. And I can always post this back up if you need it, okay? All right, so like I said before, if we're multiplying fractions with whole numbers, all whole numbers can be rewritten as a fraction by just putting a 1 underneath it. So that would be the very first critical step. You would be converting the whole number into a fraction with a 1 underneath the fraction. And then you would just multiply like normal. We would do 2 times the 3 for the bottom. We would do the 7 times the 1 for the, or sorry, 2 times 3 for the top, 7 times 1 for the bottom. 2 times 3 would come out to the 6, and then 7 times 1 would come out to the 7. Okay? So you convert into fraction form first, then you just multiply like normal. So for here, for problem number 1, we have 3 over 5 times 3. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this 3 into a fraction by putting a 1 underneath it. That's all I have to do. I just put a 1 underneath the whole numbers, and then I've created a fraction. It's 3 out of 1. Then I multiply my top. So I'm going to multiply 3 times 3. What's 3 times 3? 9. And then I'm going to multiply my denominators. So I'm going to multiply 5 times 1. What's 5 times 1? 5. So I can have 9 over 5. 9 over 5 is perfectly fine. Or I could change it into a mixed number. 5 goes into 9 one whole time with 4 remaining, so 4/5. So we could have 9 over 5, or we could have 1 and 4/5. Either one of those would be acceptable answers. Go ahead and do problems 2 through 6. 2 through 6. Okay, so like I said, these are pretty easy. You're going to take your whole number and put it over 1. So this becomes a fraction of 2 over 1 that we're multiplying by 1 over 6. So we're just multiplying 2 times 1, which is going to come out to 2. Then we're going to multiply 1 times 6, which comes out to 6. And 2 over 6. 2 over 6 can be simplified to 1 over 3. 1/3 would be our simplified answer for problem number 2. For problem number 3, we have 6 times 5/10. So we're going to change that 6 into a 6 over 1. A 6 over 1. So that means we're going to be doing 6 times 5, which is going to come out to 30. And then we're going to multiply 1 times 10, and that's going to come out to 10. And then 30 over 10 simplifies to 3 over 1, or just 3. You could write 3 over 1, but remember, any value over 1 is just a whole number. And it makes sense because 30 divided by 10 is 3. Okay, let's take a look at problem number 4. We have 4 over 8 times 4, which is going to become 4 over 1. 4 times 4 is going to come out to 16. And then 8 times 1 is going to come out to 8. And 16 over 8 simplifies to 2 over 1, or just 2. It's 2 over 1, or just 2. Okay, problem number 5. We have 7 over 12 times 2, which is 2 over 1. We're going to multiply 7 times 2, which is going to come out to 14. Then we're going to multiply 12 times 1, which is going to come out to 12. And then 14 over 12 can simplify to 7 over 6, which is also the same thing as 1 and 1/6. Okay, you can have it as an improper, or you can have it as a mixed number. Okay, the last problem on here, 6, is really the same thing as 6 over 1. We're multiplying it by 3 over 2. So we're going to do 6 times 3, which is going to come out to 18. And then we're going to multiply 1 times 2, which is going to come out to 2. And then 18 over 2. 18 over 2 comes out to 9 over 1, or just 9. Okay? Moving on. Let's talk about multiplying with mixed numbers. So multiplying with mixed numbers is a little bit different. Like I told you guys before, to multiply fractions, it has to be in a fraction form. It cannot be a whole number. It cannot be a mixed number. It has to be just a fraction, whether it's proper or improper. So if you have mixed numbers, the first thing that you have to do is convert them into fractions. Now remember, to convert, when we are trying to convert mixed numbers into fractions, you are essentially multiplying your whole number times your denominator, And whatever that value equals, you're going to add that value to the numerator. You would multiply your whole number times your denominator, and then add that answer to the numerator's value. So for example, here, 2 times 3 is 6. So we would then do 6 plus the 1, and that's where we get 7 over the 3. Same thing for this one. We would do 5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. And then we're going to add 25 to the 2. So we would do 2 plus 25. We would get 27. And it would become 27 over 5. So you have to convert those mixed numbers into improper fractions first. Then you would go about multiplying your numerators together. So we would multiply 7 times 27, and then we would multiply 3 times 5. They're trying to show you a way to be able to simplify within the problem. Don't worry about doing that. Just do this way, and then simplify at the end, and you would get 12 over 30, or 12 and 3/5. So let's take a look. Again, we're not doing too many of them, okay, because it is a longer process. But for here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply 3 times 11. What's 3 times 11? 33. And then I'm going to add that 33 to the numerator. So what's 2 plus 33? 35. So this would become 35 over 11. Close the computers, please. Abdullah, close the computer. Thank you. Okay. We have 6 times 5. What's 6 times 5 going to give us? 30. 6 times 5 is 30. Then we would add the 30 with the 3. And so 3 plus 30 is 33. So we would have 33 over 5. And then we would focus on multiplying those values together. So that means that we would do 35 times 33. Okay, 35 times 33 is going to come out to 1,155. So there's our numerator. George, please come back to the seat. For your denominator, you're going to do 11 times 5. 11 times 5 comes out to 55. And then you would just simplify it. So you would have 1,155 over 55. And that's going to simplify out to 21 over 1. Or just 21. Okay, so again, you convert your mixed numbers into improper fractions. You then multiply your improper fractions together by doing numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator, and then simplify your answer at the end. Let's take a look at the next one. 5 and 2/4. 5 and 2/4. So that means we're going to multiply 5 times 4, which is 20. And then we're going to add the 20 to the top. So that becomes 22 over 4. Then the 3 and 1/2, we're going to do 3 times 2, which is 6. And we're going to add the 6 with the 1, and that becomes 7 over 2. Now we focus on just multiplying the tops. So we're going to do 22 times 7, which is going to come out to 154. Then we're going to do 4 times 2, which is going to come out to 8. And then we simplify. 154 over 8 comes out to 77 over 4. So you could leave it as a improper fraction, or you would just go ahead and convert it, okay? And when we go 77 divided by 4, that goes into it 19 whole times with 1 remaining, so 19 and 1/4. I want you to try problems 3 and 4 on your own. Okay, let's go ahead and go over this one. Here for 6 and 2/5. 6 and 2/5, who can tell me what is that going to be as an improper fraction? What is 6 and 2/5 going to convert to as an improper fraction? Esther? Not, well, so 6 times 5 is 30. What do we do with the 30 again? We add it to the top. So what is that going to give us? 32. So this becomes 32 over 5. What about 2 and 5/8? What does 2 and 5/8 translate into? Rohan? Yes? Not right now. 2 and 5/8. 2 and 5/8. What is that going to change into for an improper fraction? Eileen? 21 over 8. Very good. You're going to multiply 2 times 6, which is 6, or 2 times 8, which is 16. You're going to add the 16 to the 5, and that gives you 21. So we have 21 over 8. Okay, so now multiplying those fractions, we're just going to multiply 32 times 21, and 32 times 21 comes out to 672. Then we're going to multiply the 5 times the 8, and 5 times 8 is going to become 40. And then we simplify it. So 672 over 40 will simplify to 84 over 5. Okay, if you were to convert that, 5 goes into 84 16 whole times with 4/5 remaining. So these would be the two acceptable answers, 84 over 5 and 16 and 4/5. Ezra? Convert it to what? So 672 over 40, they're both divisible by 8. So if you do 672 divided by 8, you'd get 84. 40 divided by 8 would give you 5. Or if you're checking it in your calculator, all you would have to do is type in 672 over 40 and hit enter, and it will simplify it for you, 84 over 5. To convert that into a mixed number, you would hit the second and that X10N button. The X10N will give you that fraction to mixed number conversion, and it'll give you your mixed number. We multiply 2 times 8 to get 16 and add that to the top because we're trying to convert the mixed number into an improper fraction. Because when you're multiplying, you can only multiply fractions. You cannot multiply mixed numbers. You're going to have to wait. I'm going over it right now, and you already just spent this whole time trying to sharpen your pencil making a joke. Okay? Number 4, 1 and 5/9. 1 and 5/9. Real quickly, if we convert that, 1 times 9 is 9. 9 plus the 5 is going to come out to 14. So you have 14 over 9. Then we have 2 times 12. 2 times 12 is 24. You add the 24 with the 3, you're going to get 27. So we have 27 over the 12. Then we can multiply. We can multiply 14 times 27. And 14 times 27 comes out to 378. Then you can multiply 9 times 12, and that's going to come out to 108. So you have 378 over 108. Then you'd have to simplify it. Oops, sorry, this should say multiplies. Okay? When we simplify it, it simplifies to 7 over 2, and 7 over 2 is the same thing as 3 and 1/2. So both of these would be acceptable answers. They're both acceptable answers. Okay, the last thing that we're going to go over is division. And guys, just like with integers, we don't subtract, we actually add the opposite. With division of fractions, we don't divide, we actually multiply by the reciprocal. So when dividing fractions, you keep the first fraction, you change division into multiplication, and you flip the second fraction upside down. That's called a reciprocal. The reciprocal is when you reverse the numerator and the denominator. Okay, the numerator becomes the denominator. The denominator becomes the numerator. You're flipping it upside down, and then you go about the process of multiplying. Okay, so all division problems are really going to be multiplication problems of the reciprocal. Okay, so for problem number 1, we have 1 over 6 divided by 8 over 11. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my first one, and that's going to become 1 over 6. I'm going to we're going to change division into multiplication, and then we're going to flip. We're going to flip the second fraction upside down, so it becomes 11 over 8. And then we just follow our multiplication rules. We multiply the numerators. 1 times 11 is 11. We multiply our denominators. 6 times 8 is 48. So we have 11 over 48, and that's as simplified as it gets. 11 over 48 is as simplified as it gets. Let's do one more together. You're going to keep 1/3. You're going to change division into multiplication. You're going to flip 13 over 9, and it becomes 9 over 13. So we now have 1/3 times 9 over 13. You're going to multiply 1 times 9. That's going to give you 9. You're going to multiply 3 times 13. That's going to give you 39. And then you're going to simplify, and it simplifies to 3 over 13. Go ahead and do the last 2 problems on your own. Okay, let's take a look. For this one, we're going to keep the 13 over the 4 just as it is. So it stays 13 over 4. We're going to change division into multiplication, so it becomes times. And then we're going to go ahead and do the reciprocal. 1 over 2 becomes 2 over 1. And then we can multiply straight across. So we're going to multiply 13 times 2, which is going to come out to 26. We're then going to multiply 4 times 1, and that comes out to 4. And then this can be simplified to 13 over 2, or it's going to be the same thing as 6 and 1/2. 13 over 2, or 6 and 1/2. For the last problem, we're going to keep the 17 over 6 as is. We're going to we're going to go ahead and change that to multiplication, and then we're going to flip. This becomes 5 over 3. We're then going to multiply 17 times the 5. 17 times 5 comes out to 85. Then we're going to multiply the denominators, 3 and 6. That's going to come out to 18. And then 85 over the 18 is as simplified as it's going to get, but it is going to go ahead and convert into a mixed number of 4 and 13/18. So either one of these would be acceptable answers, 85 over 18 or 4 and 13/18. Okay, you have on Google Classroom right now, you've got some IXL skills that you're going to be completing. Use your calculator as a good practice, please. Use the calculator.